Happy Sunday, everybody! You're watching Dr. Gregory's Meta Moments, and I'm Dr. Gregory. This is episode 10, and I'd like to talk to you about the book Boundless this week. I'm reading an excerpt written by Dr. Thomas Cowan, and it's a huge eye-opener. It talks a lot about the importance of your body's immune system, the natural immune system, as well as its relationship to vaccine-induced immunity. This particular subject could be potentially controversial, but I think it's very important to understand the relationship of a human's natural immunity as well as how a vaccine-induced immunity can help or hurt the human body. And it really inspired me to do some more research about vaccines and how they help humans, how they help immunity, but also how they could cause some potential harm. It's really important to look into these things more, to be educated about it. So let's get into it. Over the years, many patients have asked me how to take care of their immune systems. My response is always that. In contrast to what we generally believe, we don't have an immune system. Rather, we have two distinct immune systems. Only when those two immune systems are working together harmoniously do we have the possibility of being in robust health. The way to understand the functioning of our two immune systems is to examine what happens when we encounter a simple viral infection. Take chickenpox, for example. When we were first exposed to the virus that causes chickenpox, we have no immunity against it, so it enters through our respiratory tracts and infects thousands, if not millions of cells. These infected cells are distorted by and dysfunctional and must be eliminated from the body. The elimination of these infected cells is the job of our first immune system, the cell-mediated immune system, otherwise known as the innate immune system. This system relies upon non-specific defense mechanisms that activate or either immediately or soon after a toxic or bacterial attack begins in your body. The non-specific defense mechanisms include chemical defenses in the blood, immune cells like white blood cells, and even physical barriers like your skin. The job of the cell-mediated immune system is to target infected cells, digest them, and eliminate them through various elimination channels of the bowels, lungs, nasal passages, skin, etc. The crucial point here is that we generally call being sick, such as having a fever, mucus, cough, or rash, it's actually the working of the cell-mediated immune response. Isn't that interesting? A virus or toxin only stimulates the activity of this crucial immune innate response. I know this is so because you can infect someone with a virus and then inhibit the activity of their cell-mediated response and innate immune system, and they will never show any signs of sickness. Wow, I didn't know that. They could die of the infection, but there will never be a fever or mucus or outward signs of being sick. On the other hand, we can use various chemical stimulators of the cell-mediated response with no infection needed, and we can show with all the signs we would typically associate with being sick. Isn't that fascinating? So cell-mediated response is crucial to our health. It's how we detoxify, it's how we clear diseased cells and tissues from our body, and it's how we eliminate unwanted toxins and microorganisms from our bodies. Without a robust cell-mediated response, we're like a house that's unable to take out its own garbage, and over time, we become more and more toxic. The cell-mediated response usually lasts 7 to 10 days, after which we are restored to good health. But the body, in its own wisdom, has realized it would be no good to keep going through the same illness over and over in our lives, so it developed a second immune system. It's called the humoral or antibody-based immune system. The humoral immune system recognizes a certain unique protein associated with a particular virus or any other foreign assailant, and these are called antigens. And the antigens stimulate the making of antibodies to that specific antigen. So as a result of the antibody production, from that time on, we're able to clear the infection from our bodies without ever having to involve the innate immune cell-mediated response. Wow. So since the humoral response has no outward symptoms, we will never again get, quote, sick in response to infection from that same microorganism. When these two systems, the innate and the humoral immune systems, work together, as they are meant to, your immune system is almost 100% foolproof. And it's extremely rare for a person to suffer the exact same viral disease more than once in their lives. That's also something I didn't know, by the way. Up to the 20th century, prior to the era of vaccinations, it never happened that we made a humoral response without at least some prior innate immune cell-mediated activity. So we always were exposed through the cell-mediated activity first, and then our humoral response in the past. Remember, in a normal immune response, we have to clear the infection, and only then can our immune system remember what happened. Vaccines have changed all that because the theory behind vaccines is that we can develop immunity to a microorganism even if we bypass the cell-mediated response. Vaccines are essentially engineered to create minimal or no cell-mediated response and to only stimulate the antibody response. Wow, that's fascinating. There are many problems with this unnatural approach, however. The first is toxic chemicals. Chemicals like aluminum must be used to stimulate an antibody response in the absence of cell-mediated activity. That's super interesting, and it made me want to look into the ingredients of your typical vaccines, and I plan to do that, and I plan to share that with you in the near future. Second, the immunity from this antibody approach is never lifelong. It's proven by continual need for booster shots. Third, and most crucially, a strategy of downplaying the cell-mediated immune system in favor of repeated stimulation of antibodies is guaranteed to produce a nation of people who suffer from chronic autoimmune diseases and certain types of cancer. Really? Wow. Okay. Well, autoimmune disease is defined as a state in which a person has developed excessive antibodies to their own tissues, and it includes conditions such as low thyroid, celiac disease, gluten sensitivities, acne, eczema, types of inflammation, certain types of joint pain, and much, much more. Conventional medicine says we don't know the etiology of excess antibody activity, but many studies have proven repeated vaccination can lead directly to a high antibody disease state. It's the purpose of the vaccine in the first place, is to create more and more antibodies. Sure, there are other ways to develop autoimmune diseases, but vaccinations certainly aren't helping. And then there's cancer. The case of cancer being related to a suppressed cell-mediated response was dramatically demonstrated by a sarcoma, which is a virulent type of bone cancer, specialist named William Coley in the early part of the 20th century. Coley was able to cure thousands of cancer patients simply by injecting them with a bacterial toxin that stimulated a high fever response. I really want to look into this particular study. Fever is the quintessential sign of an activated cell-mediated immune response, and intensely stimulating a fever for 1 month is powerful enough of a therapeutic maneuver to cure even some end-stage cancers. Wow, that's incredible. Again, I really need to look into this particular study. There can be no better demonstration of the value and power of our cell-mediated immune system and the body's innate ability to heal itself through built-in immune system mechanisms than the story of Coley's toxins. So we're in a dangerous time in history of medicine. We're the first medical system in the entire long history of human beings that has waged a war on our own cell-mediated immune system, a system that ignores the healing power of fever and acute illness, and that it's a medical system that will produce a nation of chronically sick people. It's far past time to reevaluate how we do medicine and how we care for our vital two-part immune system. Wow, so that's not hugely in support of vaccines, obviously, but I'm not here to tell you don't take a vaccine. I'm here to tell you, let's look into it more. Let's research this information, because we certainly don't know all of what we're dealing with, do we? And I think a lot of people, including doctors, tend to report what they've heard, but they haven't really put in the time themselves and done their own critical research. The critical research involves, in my opinion, discernment. Discernment meaning, instead of blocking your mind to outward possibilities or other theories besides what we've been generally taught to be, quote, true, maybe it's time for us to take our own empowerment and do our own research and see, does the research that we do support, or are there some concerns that do not support the use of certain types of vaccines, and why? What are the potential side effects? What are the potential harms? And of course, we already know the benefits of many vaccines, as many of us are vaccinated. But like I said, it's time to open your mind and look into being more empowered in your own health and realizing that our bodies were perfected by the universe, by God, if you will, to fight off all sorts of disease processes. So instead of trying to bypass certain methods of healing, how about we study them more and see why they are so critical to the human body, the human immune system. Wow, pretty incredible, right? Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you. Happy Sunday.